All right, welcome back to another episode of the Mom is in Control podcast. Your Messy Brilliance. When I found Kelly McNelis, I knew I needed to share her with you guys. So I interviewed her on Facebook. So if you guys jump on over to my Facebook account, it's my biz page. Just look up Heather Chauvin Coaching and you'll find it. The live version is in video and you can see it there. But the magic behind Kelly's work is she talks about the vulnerability of allowing your life to be messy. And she has a really great story. And so today I'm going to be interviewing her. I'm going to share that interview with you, but I just wanted to share something with you that I read online about her book, and it was a quote from Marianne Williamson endorsing Kelly and her Messy Brilliance, and I thought it was fabulous and very well put, and I couldn't have put it better myself. She says, Kelly McNelis's name names something very important in your Messy Brilliance, bringing to light the secret fear we all have at times that we're too messed up to be good enough. Her message, that's where there's no mess, there's no real big becoming, no real life, no real brilliance, and is both a relief and a tremendous step forward for anyone caught in the trap of I'm not good enough thinking. There's a lot of good information and a lot of good love in this book, and I recommend it. And I just love that like perfectly says it because I've been reading her book. After our interview, she sent me a book and I just, I'm diving through the pages and I'm like, yes. Because we all have a story. I have a messy story. I know all of you have a messy story. We all know this, right? It's who we are as women. But yet we still convince ourselves that we need to become somebody else. We need to be perfect. We need to be, this picture perfect, polished, whatever. And at the core of it, and I see this all the time in my work, is I'm not good enough, right? I'm not doing enough for my children. I'm not a good enough wife. I'm not a good enough business owner. That's why I can't make money. That's why I won't give myself permission to have more time. That's why I won't give myself permission to sit back and create the space, to have the energy, whatever that might be. It's this core universal belief of I am not enough. But the truth is we are all enough. And if your child came to you and said, Mom, I don't believe that I'm good enough, your heart would be broken because you would look at that child whole and be like, oh, you are everything. You are enough. You are good enough. But ladies, the truth is this is part of the human condition, that our thoughts are just thoughts and we have to look past them. And it's not about getting over anything. It's about creating and cultivating the life that we truly want while this mess is with us. So that's why I love the conversation that I've had with Kelly today. Before we jump in, two reminders. We are nearing towards, depending on when you're listening to this, we're nearing towards the end of 2017. 2018 is coming, and I'm all about soul alignment. Yes, this sounds woo-woo, and some of it is, but a lot of it isn't. It's about really diving into the ache. What do you want? How do you want to be remembered as a mother, as a woman, as like an ambitious go-getter? Do you want to yell? Do you want to scream? Or do you want to feel abundant and content? Well, these are big kind of, we can say these things, but how do we actually create it and cultivate it? So I'm hosting a workshop. It's $300. That is a steal of a deal for the content that you're going to be gifted during this workshop. So I don't do these very often, and you're going to get an opportunity to get one-on-one coaching with me. And what I mean by one-on-one is you're live. I'm going to ask you questions, and you're going to get answers. And then when you don't know how to answer that, you have me there to support you. So this is going to be an intimate group. We have 2 times. I believe they're around, don't quote me, they're in December sometimes. sometime. So you got to go to my website at heatherchauvin, CHAUVIN.com, and check out the top where it says Aligned 18 Workshop. Register. I believe there's a Thursday night and a Friday morning Eastern Standard Time. And once you register, you can attend either or. You don't have to attend both, but you can attend either or. Who's registering for these? It's women who want to up their game in 2018, and they're so done with their excuses. So this is wrapped around, you're ambitious, you're a go-getter, you might have business goals, you might have career goals, you might have, I need to figure out my purpose goals. You want to create more abundance in your life, meaning time and energy. You want to feel more connected in your relationships. We're looking at the whole picture, but we're going to pull back the layers and figure out what it is that you're really craving and what specific actions you need to take in 2018 to make shit happen. So this isn't just all about the woo-woo. This is about cultivating and creating the plan and knowing the specific actions that you have to take to get out of your own way and to make magic happen. So head on over to heatherchauvin.com just go to, heatherchauvin.com and you'll see it at the top of my website. All right. One more announcement, and then we're going to dive into Kelly's interview. So if you've been following me, you know I'm talking about my Mom is in Control Mastermind all the time. It's a group coaching experience, but you get a lot of one-on-one attention. In 2018, this is my signature program. It has been for the last few years, but the amount of value that I give in this program is redonkulous. So we're accepting applications again. If you've been looking for a mentor, if you're really connected to what I have to say, if you're so done and you want to get out of your own way, we're going to be looking at your whole life. So it's about parenting. It's about your marriage. It's about your money. It's about your time. It's about your energy, your purpose, your career. And the way that the mastermind works is you have the accountability of having me as your coach. And it's not just, okay, you did the work. No, I'm going to gently kick your ass and help you get out of your own way. But you also have the sense of community with other like-minded women who are on a similar path as you. Sisterhood is so, so, so important. And you're getting the training. I'm constantly upgrading the modules. I'm constantly offering new content. You're going to be getting one-on-one attention with me. So you're not getting lost in the mix of a group program where you all jump on a call and then you can hide and run away. No, there's a one-on-one component where you can get that attention from me as well. So it's a very individualized program with universal concepts, but the magic is in the coaching. So you have access to this program for a year. So you can get coaching from me for a year and we can look at your unique situation. So it's not just about, create your life this way. It's about what do you want? What is your soul craving? And ultimately, I'm teaching you independence. How can you become the leader of your own life? How can you guide your children? How can you make the money that you want to be? How do you want to be remembered? I'm a big believer that every woman has the power to change the world if she starts at home. What are you craving? So if 2018 is the year that you were like, no more excuses, I want to chat with Heather, then fill out the application on that page, momisincontrol.com/MIIC. And what I'm offering is if you fill out the application by November 28th at midnight Eastern Standard Time, and you go through the program, you're accepted, application process, all of that, you will get a 60-minute one-on-one session with me. So what that means, that's a $300 value for coaching. So you can utilize that one-on-one time, that additional coaching time, anytime throughout the program. So this is something that people have to pay for. You're getting this as an added bonus for filling out the application before November 28th. All right, guys, remember, you do have control. It's about the actions you take, it's about your mindset, and it's about how you show up in the world. So let's talk about your messy brilliance with the lovely Kelly McNelis.
Awesome, guys. Welcome. So we're talking about we're not talking about anything yet. We're doing another interview for the Sustainable Motherhood series. And I'm so excited to have Kelly McNelis here from Woman for One. She's the founder of Woman for One, a place where women from over 50 countries share their powerful stories. I can't talk right now. I haven't had my full cup of coffee yet, and it's 2 p.m. This is ridiculous. Anyways, okay, guys, Kelly is a truth teller, and I'm really excited to share her with you today. She has her new book. You're going to show us your new book.
Launching next week.
Yes, launching next week. Your Messy Brilliance, a former nonprofit and small business consultant. Kelly now travels the world as a speaker, a teacher, workshop facilitator, empowering women to find their voice and discover their true power. You've interviewed some amazing people like Arianna Huffington, Mama Gena, Maya Angelou, Byron Katie, and many, many more. Let's just get in. We're going to talk about truth telling, no such thing as TMI, but what I was really attracted to, connecting with you, Kelly, is the annoyance of like, let's put on our makeup. Let's make sure.
And I did today. I put my makeup on.
I did too. I even had my hair done because I got to go somewhere.
I know. I threw mine up, but I've got sweatpants on underneath this nice sweater.
Love it. Love it. I did put a bra on for this interview.
Thank you. But you didn't have to.
But that's the whole point, right? It's like, oh, shit looks good on the outside, right? The kids are in tow. Everybody be good out there. And then behind closed doors, there's a whole other world that happens for women. And I love that you pull back the curtains and talk about that. So let's just talk a little bit about what sparked you to become a big truth teller out in the world.
Well, there's so many things. Thank you, first of all, for having me. And there's so many things that sparked me to share my story and create a community where women became brave, courageous truth tellers, because that's what it takes. It takes bravery. It takes courage. It takes a little bit of craziness and messiness, like my book talks about. It's really challenging to kind of bridge the gap between what it looks like on the outside and how you're feeling on the inside. And I think there's a lot of pressure for women and especially mothers to be perfect and get it right all the time. And it's just not possible, Heather.
No, it's not. It's not at all. Yes, I hear you. So you talk about this new feminine. Okay. I'm ambitious. I want to make shit happen in the world. And I'm one of those people that everybody comes to me when shit hits the fan. And so I've had to learn about this balance, quote unquote balance, of how can I feed my soul, put myself out in the world, get shit done, but not feel burnt out. Like, what does it mean, this new feminine you're talking about?
Well, I love both questions because I feel like there's two there, the new feminine and the balance question. They're two huge questions. The balance one for me is like, you can ask anyone on my team and my family. I'm constantly striving for balance. I'm a Libra and I'm constantly striving for that balance in my life. So the reason I wrote the book, the reason I've created One for One, they say you do what you need, right? And you do what you need to learn. I did it for me. And I really believe that, we have to put our own oxygen mask on before we take care of anybody else. And that balance, that discernment, that self-care, that conscious choice is so huge when someone asks you the power of the no. I've learned that I'm going to be 50 next year, almost 50 years. It's like, you got to be able to say no with a clear conscience and not have this guilt and shame about making a choice to not do something. And I was reading something the other day on Facebook. Somebody said, if it's not a hell yes, it's a no.
Yeah.
It's some book or something coming out. I wish I could remember who.
It's a fuck no.
Yeah, right? So if it's not that, it's a hell no or fuck no. So in that way, that's where I'm coming from. I'm coming from really learning how to have that balance and asking the right questions. And the tools that I provide in my book really take you through how to create conscious choice and discernment. So you're self-caring, but also making shit happen like you talked about. So that's the first question that you asked me. Second question you talked to me about was the new feminine. And the new feminine to me is the integration of the feminine piece that we really need to embody even more, and the masculine piece of getting shit done, because that's where we are right now. You look at the Me Too campaign, you look at the truth is out. Women are tired of it. And when one woman comes forward, another woman comes forward, another woman comes forward, we have this tribe and we start discovering our voices, and we have to integrate. Instead of just trying to be a man, we have to take that beautiful, powerful, sensual feminine and embrace it, and then bridge that with that masculine, direct conscious choice and action piece.
So I hear you. Mm-hmm. And I understand this concept, but where do I start when this has been something that maybe someone has locked up, throw away the key and said, I've had to show up in my life as a certain person. How do I start to embrace this power, this voice? Like, what the hell are we talking about?
Well, the first thing I would say is, and I talk about it in all my courses and in my book, is baby steps. And curiosity is the first tool in my book. And I believe I've been curious since I was a little girl. I've always wondered from a place of, why did she just do that, to why am I here? Like those kind of questions. And if we start being open to answers that we never expected, and then start to have the courage to take just small baby steps towards what we want to be doing. And you know what? We're not going to get it right? Sometimes we're going to screw up, but at least we're learning as we take the baby steps, because life is that journey. So a lot of women, I was doing a webinar last night, were asking me, how do I get unstuck? Because there's a lot of women that are like, well, society's programmed to be this way. My family's told me this. I'm lost. I'm stuck. What do I do? And it's like, to unstick yourself, you got to start asking yourself the right questions and have the willingness to take some baby steps.
Yeah. I think the willingness to take the baby steps are the key, right? Because it is going, what is mine? Like, I'm such a huge advocate for meditation and mindfulness, but it's going like, oh my gosh, like all of this bullshit that's coming in. Is it my thought? Is it my child's thought? Like, or is there a projection? Like, what is going on? Right. Mm-hmm. So I want to talk about victimhood, because this is so interesting to me when you do take, my podcast is called Mom is in Control, and people laugh and go, I'm so out of control and we never have control. I go, it's the essence, your core, right? Of like,
right.
I got this shit. I got it. I know what I'm doing. So when you've decided to, okay, my life is a mess, but I'm going to figure this crap out. I'm going to get to where I want to be. I don't want to play a victim anymore. I often find that when you're letting go of this story, it's like other people are trying to grab onto it for you. Like there's this resistance that comes back of like, you're not going to be that person for me anymore.
There's a lot in there, because I feel like personally for me, I was raised kind of in a victim mentality. My mom and our family culture is, Irish Catholic. It's like, oh, poor me. It's like rough life. Everything's bad. We've got to, buck up and suck it up. Right. And I realized that I was a victim, and I pretty much blamed my parents, my mother, for everything until I was about 38, 39, when I made a choice to leave my first husband. And I really moved out of the space of victimhood when I started taking some self-responsibility for how I had created my life. Because as you can see, Heather, in the society right now, everybody's pointing fingers everywhere, right? With politics, with even people are mad about the Me Too campaign. It's like everybody's mad, and there's a lot of chaos right now, and there's a lot of finger pointing. And so it's like, what about some self-responsibility? What about the chaos that's going on inside of us, and diving into that? And how about we all take a look at our own victimhood and how we choose to blame society, others, everything, for everything, so we don't have to really look at it. And it's a hard pill to swallow, but I believe it's true. And I had to swallow it. And that's why I wrote in chapter 5 of my book, I talked about these victim archetypes, because I could relate to all of them. And I created I'm not a victim. Lots of moms are like that, right?
Yeah.
Oh God, she's such a victim. Like, I would never do that, right? That's a victim right there. So I created all these archetypes, like the savior or the attention hog, right? Someone that just likes to recycle in their story and always talk about it. Oh, did you hear what happened to me? Let me tell you again. If I hear one more person tell me a story 6 times, it's like, when are you going to learn from it? And that's what we do at One for One. I want women to share their stories, not to just release it, but to dive in, gain the lessons, and then share with others so they feel less alone and they feel connected. And then they can gain the wisdom from that person that they learned for their story and experience.
I love this. I have you ever had that moment when you're talking to somebody and they're like, they have that breakthrough of like, I've been a victim. Like they had no idea. Yeah. It's like, oh my gosh. And there's so much freedom there of like, oh shit, I have control over this.
Yes. It's a big deal. And I'm not talking about people that have been done to, because a lot of times I get that flack back, like there are victims in the world. Yes, there are. And, I share in the fifth chapter of my book, a really intense story about a woman that had, her children killed by her husband because of a mental illness. And she rose from the ashes and looked at that and didn't become a victim to it and helps others. I'm talking about the choice you make to move out of your victimhood as well.
Right. Yeah. It's the choices and not to identify as that's your identity of like, this is who I am.
Correct.
Piggybacking off of that, shame, this other thing that keeps women trapped of, okay, I get that I'm a victim of circumstance or I can create these changes, but what about the leftover? Do you find like shame and guilt are different? Like, can you explain that? Toxic shame, guilt, all of these heavy shit that we wear.
Well, shame is a big one, and it is a lot, one of the factors. And if you've read any of Brene Brown's stuff or looked at her books or her talks, she clearly defines shame better than anyone can, I think. And John Bradshaw actually talks about shame as well, which I love. And I was inspired by them to write the book around that piece, because I think we all are raised on a certain amount of shame, and shaming from our society, even, keep bringing up Me Too, but in there, like women are ashamed. They're embarrassed. They go into their head and they go, well, I guess I could have done that. Or, oh yeah, it's not that big a deal. Those justifications, they're just another representation of shame. So the way I see shame is we have to really own it. No, we all have it on some level, especially as women in society, and have no shame about our shame. Like really be okay with that we have shame and embrace it, because we're not going to get through it or release it until we can dive into it and understand it and get an awareness of it.
Have no shame about our shame. I love that. How do you dive in when it's just like you? How do you dive into it?
When it's just you, what do you mean?
Like when you're just like, when you feel like you can't sort out what is and what could be. How do you start diving into the shame?
And the visual I get when you say that is, I always, because I'm kind of messy and all my friends, that's why I call the book Messy Brilliance. And my necklaces are always like this little tangled mess. And I'm always like, oh, I've got 5 more necklaces that are all tangled. That's how I feel about messes in my life that I need to dive into. That's how I feel about shame. It's like, how do you start? Well, you start by asking yourself some really deep questions about, where did this come from? Is there a story? What do I tell myself about this? Whatever it could be. For example, if it's shame around your body, right? Where did this start first happening? Or if I can't remember, what would it be if I could remember? What were some experiences that I had when I was younger that would create that, as Sheila Kelly talks about it, that first offense, that shame in me around my body? And then really diving in and doing a lot of self-inquiry is the first piece of it. Getting an awareness of that is the second piece, which is my second tool. And then I move forward with the tools in the book that help you be able to deal with that shame, release it, and allow it to leave you more and more. But it's a process, Heather, as you know.
It's a daily moment by moment. I literally,
moment by moment.
Before I was chatting with you, I had like 20 minutes and I wrote a little love letter to myself. And I do this all the time. It's like, Heather, you got this. You're fine. Life goes on, right? I'm like, woke up with
self-forgiveness. Self-forgiveness is huge.
Yeah. No one's knocking on my door saying, I forgive you. You got to forgive yourself.
You do. And what's so funny? It's like, I find the most judgmental people in the world, a lot of us as women judge each other, are the most judgmental of themselves, right? Mm-hmm. Because if you can screw up, if you can fuck up and be like, hey, I fucked up. That doesn't mean you're skirting it or avoiding it. I'm sorry, I screwed up, but move on. Like, let's just move on and stop beating ourselves up and diving into shame, because it sticks us. It gets us stuck even more.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm a huge advocate for talking about how all of this as women transfers into motherhood. I mean, society, it's this whole parenting piece, right? Of like, what was that strategy? Fuck the strategy, be in the moment and say, it's not about going, you need to swallow all your anger and frustration with your child and have this perfect script that's going to come out of your mouth to get them to eat their peas or whatever. It's about, to me, it's so much more. So how do you see this whole movement towards messy brilliance and imperfection and honoring who you are as a woman, your wants, your desires, your needs, and motherhood? Do you have 6 children? Did I read this?
I do. Yeah. I have 3 of my own and 3 stepchildren. And so their ages now are 17 to 23. So I kept thinking once they hit 18, I'm done. Where do we get that? I just want to know like where that came from. It's like when you were little, you're like, I just have to get to 18. I can do this. And, I really want to share right now that I have several friends, very dear friends, that are just starting the mothering, like they're at the ages of 3 or 2 to 6 or 7. And it's so beautiful to hear them. And I'm so different now than I was then, right? It's just so wild to go through it. So I would start with first, one of my dearest teachers ever, when I was leaving my husband, I had 8 kids ages 3, 6, and 9. And I was just so upset with myself and had so much judgment and shame about it because I promised myself I was going to be the perfect mom because I came from a broken home, that I would never leave my husband and I'd be the perfect mom. And then I was desperately unhappy and decided to leave my husband. And I looked at her and I said, I'm so scared I'm going to fuck up my children. And she goes, oh, honey, you already have. And it's okay. Yeah. Because they come in as these beings that are so individual with their own wounds, with their own lessons to learn. And you are setting the intention to be the best mom you can be. And you're going to mess up too. And it's okay. So the best person you can be is the woman that's free, that's modeling the best woman and parent that you can be to them, and always being there for them. And it just really gave me some permission to allow myself to screw up more, and that's how I feel Your Messy Brilliance connects with mothering, because I look at some of these moms out there that are being so hard on themselves. It's like, I've got to feed the right food. I've got to do organic. I've got to, hand make everything. And it was like that when I had kids when they were younger. And it's like,
now you just need to post it on Instagram with professional photos.
Yeah, right? So it's just, there's always something. And it's like, you're never going to get it right. How about you just spend some time cuddling with your kid and asking them how they feel and owning when you mess up. So it's just like any other relationship, owning when you screw up, teaching them emotional intelligence, and stop trying to get it right. I mean, really, that's my very practical advice as a mom that had little kids.
Well, it's funny because almost 5 years ago, I had cancer and almost died. And almost died. And my thought was, I'm fucking up my kids because I'm sick. And oh my gosh, now it's all about them. And I'm like, here I am, stage 4. Like, Heather, you need to focus on yourself. And yet you're projecting this, oh my God, I'm screwing them up. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe this is part of their spiritual contract. Maybe this was supposed to happen. So just shut up, Heather, go with the flow and heal yourself. And it's the beauty in the mess, which is, I'm like, I don't know if I could look back on my childhood and go, my parents said, I'm sorry when they yelled at me for no apparent reason. I'm like, that is a huge success to be like, I just legit yelled at you because I was completely projecting my own anger and frustration onto you. Like, that's a success.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, last week I screwed up and I snapped at my 22-year-old who moved back home, right? And I just was like, ah. And he was like, really? Are you kidding me? Like that. And then a few minutes went by, I was like, babe, I have had a really rough week. I am so sorry. Like, just treating them like human beings instead of treating them like they're your property. They have lessons. They are here to learn their own. And I'm sure all moms know they all come in differently, right? And to speak to that death piece, and the death and dying piece, I want to speak to really quickly. One of my dearest friends died of cancer 10 years ago. And she was one of the people that motivated me to get on this path to really live my life to the fullest, because she had 3 little children and she was dying and she passed. And I'll never forget, like, by the end, she had enough trust that they would be okay and this was their path. And she passed peacefully because of it. It was just, heart-wrenching, but she also asked me to hold that space for her while she was passing, because everybody else was talking about how terrible it was.
Yeah.
And she was like, I have cancer and I have to surrender and know that these children will be taken care of and loved.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
And it when you get to a space, because there was a moment when that happened for me, when I was like, they're fine. They're good.
Mm-hmm.
And you completely let go of that anger and anxiety and fear and worry and being able to just completely surrender. That's absolutely beautiful. And I'm sure her children are so much more connected and empathetic and compassionate because of that.
They're wonderful. They're wonderful children. They're all grown up now too. And it's just beautiful to see them, who they've become.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And being on the other side and connecting to this, there was someone else I was interviewing. She's talking about how the legacy of some man that she barely knew, and she had to go to his funeral because she started working for him for like 2 weeks and then he died. And this is awful that I can laugh about this.
I know, but
I have a funny relationship with death.
Me too. So we're right on the same path.
Yeah. And so she goes, this guy was such an adventurer, and everybody's talking about the grand life that he lived. So I was like, thank you, Bob. And she quit, and then she went and did what she wanted to do. And I'm such an advocate for women being fully alive, expressing this. It's not about cooking and cleaning and just having, like babies all the time, or like caring for everyone and give. So what's your perspective or take on that? Yeah, we have this messy brilliance, but the essence of like feeling alive and parenting and how that is part of the process.
What I would say to that is after I left my husband, I had to work, right? I had to make a living. I was a part-time consultant in nonprofit for years. I had done some startups, and rolled them out nationally. But then as the children are young, I stayed home and consulted for businesses and organizations. And then I had to go back in and get this job that I actually really didn't like at all as a sales rep. And I was miserable. And I remember feeling numb and feeling stuck and feeling like all I was doing was surviving. And I was on the bathroom floor one night in a hotel, a really grungy hotel, as a sales rep in the middle of the country. And my kids called me crying. And I remember going, did I mess up? And I think about like, oh my God. And then I sobbed for an hour on the floor. And I heard this quiet, still voice that said, this is not the life you're supposed to live. This is not your life. And I followed that intuition and that gut. I kept listening, like tuning in, and I kept following it. And I started taking baby steps and getting curious about asking the right questions to move out of that space, which included starting to exercise, taking some natural vitamins that would boost my mood because I was depressed, getting out of that job, right? But it took a while, but I hung on to that voice, knowing that that wasn't the life I was supposed to live. And I feel like if women can get in touch with that voice inside of themselves, just even for a few moments a day. And I think how they can do that is through finding something they're passionate about and cultivating their joy. Because that's how I started doing it. Start just little by little, doing 15 minutes a day, of cultivating my joy in my life.
So I'm like, why do all these moments happen on the bathroom floor?
I don't know, but I was a friggin' mess.
There's something about the ceramic tile and a toilet bowl and being in fetal position where all the magic happens. It's like
Glennon did it too. Glennon Doyle Melton did the same thing.
I was just thinking about her reading. Yeah, when I was reading her book, and then I'm like, fuck, I've had so many aha moments on the bathroom floor in fetal position. And from listening to so many women, and to be honest, I think it's because the door's shut, it's locked, and nobody wants to see you poop. So they know, don't bug her. She's in her space, or you're by yourself or whatever. But It's interesting how we have these moments in solitude where it's our come to Jesus moment or whatever it is, you listening to this voice. And so we'll talk about this and then we'll wrap it up. Gurus, masters, talking about people who have all the secrets for us. And over again, as I'm talking to women going, I'm just this ache, this voice, I'm like, listen to it, right? Go towards it. And then reading books and, it's like, I listen to this little voice. So what's your perspective on, this culture of self-help and intuition?
Well, I have a huge perspective on it. Through experience, I lived with the guru in India for years, traveled with her, and lived in New York with her. Same one as Liz Gilbert did in Eat, Pray, Love. So it's kind of interesting. And was a seeker my whole life. I had an experience. My father died, who was my abuser, by the way. I'm an incest survivor. When I was 17, and I didn't expect him to die. And I had an experience of him going through me when he died, and I knew he had died and he wasn't supposed to die. And I wasn't really raised with any sort of religion. So with that in place, I became a seeker of knowledge, a seeker of truth. I'm wondering why I'm here. So I started just looking, and I was lost. I was 20 and didn't know what I was doing. And I lived with the gurus. I've done every energy healing modality there is. And I've gained so much wisdom and knowledge from all of it. But I think the one thing I've learned the most is that I have all the answers inside of me, and that I can actually learn from those experiences. But I created the experience to learn from. I love doing women's retreats and women's summits, but I don't love going to conventions where a woman is on a stage speaking to people. Mm-hmm. Or anyone is on a stage looking down and everybody's, I'm over it. I'm so over it. And I think it's wonderful. I think TED Talks are great, but I am really committed to the new way for women to experience and embody their own joy and their own passion and their own power. And when I go to conferences like Regena Thomashauer or Mama Gena or Sheila Kelly, they are all about women embracing and embodying their joy and passion inside themselves. They're up there talking, but they are not about listen to me. They're saying, listen to yourself. And that's what I believe we need to be doing.
Yeah. And they're teaching you how to listen to yourself. Like, I don't have the answers. I don't know. What do you want? What do you want? Keep going.
That's what my book says. There's no magic bullet. That's what it says right here.
Love it.
Yeah.
And then I just thought about the magic bullet. I'm like, this stupid bitch. I'm like, oh yeah, that was good marketing. My spiritual teacher, my little dog, my greyhound needs to come stand next to me.
Oh, awesome.
Said that. He's like a little...
I can't have my dogs in the house during an interview because they bark all the time. I have 2 chocolate labs.
He doesn't bark. We have a Burmese mountain dog too, and she doesn't bark because I think she learned from him, but he never stands next to me. So this is interesting when I'm doing interviews. So yeah, I want to know more about your book, but you also, when people pre-order or when they order, you have like an amazing course that they can do with it as well.
Yeah, it's called Embrace Your Messy Brilliance in 30 Days. And when my content writer and I, Nirmala Nataraj, is my editor and content alchemist, she calls herself because she's an incredible writer. When we write things, we write it keeping women that are very busy in mind. So when you pre-order this book on my site, you get the 30 days for free, which is the $50 value until next Saturday, actually, the 4th. The 4th. So we're really excited about it because it complements the book. You can do either independently, but it's really nice to just do a short little practice every single day to move towards discovering and cultivating your joy and passion in life.
And you call it the anti-cleanse or something?
I do. I remember creating it and I went, I'm so tired of these 30 days, like go all organic, gluten-free, dairy-free, clear out how about we do the women's anti-cleanse? How about we allow women to be whatever they want to be and relax enough so that they can do whatever they want in their lives? Because I feel like a lot of times we're trying to put everything in a box and get everything right. And then we just feel like we're setting ourselves up for failure. So this is the anti-cleanse for sure.
I love it. Yeah, because you're transferring your perfectionism in one area to like personal development perfectionism, and then you're shaming and blaming yourself, but you got a nice bow on it.
Yeah, it looks pretty.
Yes.
Doesn't help.
I love this. Well, thank you, Kelly. Where can people get this? On your site, obviously.
Yes, women for one, all spelled out, .com. And then you can also do your messybrilliance.com as well. That's where they can find me. So
I love it. And I love how it complements.
Person to talk to.
Yeah. I love how it complements though. It's not just about reading the book. It's about reading the book and doing the work, but in a way that feels good.
Yes. And I do have, if you just want to do the book, I have exercises at the end of each chapter, which I need to send you the book. So I'll do that today.
I'm excited. I'll be going through it and talking about it more when I get to dive in.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Kelly.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, guys, for listening.